Okay, Mickey, here we are, puzzle 315, and it's a game between Kevin Cooey and Scott McDonald at the Brier a year or two ago, and two pretty aggressive skips, so it's always entertaining with these guys. Fifth end, we're Kevin Cooey, we're red. So I'm thinking here, his main priority is not to give up a big steal. Make sure he scores one, make sure he holds him to a steal of one if he absolutely has to. Ideally score two or more.
Yeah, that's right. McDonald has engineered it so that, as we mentioned several times in these puzzles, that the yellows are secure. It's hard to kill yellows right now directly, and the reds are both vulnerable. You get rid of both the reds on one shot. If he hits the outside of Y2, the reds go, the yellows stay, and now there's a bunch of yellows in the rings, and Kevin's thinking, no multi-steal here is his overriding thought. It's important to score, but at the very worst, you give up a single steal. You play the sixth end, one up with hammer. It's still okay. You just can't give up control.
Okay. So the options that our puzzlers called, number one was the guard. What do you think about guarding in a situation like this?
Well, I guess it really depends on the level you're playing at. I don't think Kevin would throw a guard for a couple of reasons. If you throw a tight guard, they could, at this level, could make that same shot, but using the guard you just threw, run it back into the outside part of Y2. The reds are all still gone. Maybe the shooter that ran it back, you used to run it back, is still sitting there. Now it's not only sitting three in there, they're guarded. And if you throw a long guard in front of that to make the run back harder, I think they could play a quiet wait like a hack waiter on the R1 into Y3, and Y3 sort of wiggles into the button. And now it's buried behind the guard you just threw. So I think at this level, they're not considering the guard as even on their list of options.
Okay, because they can make run backs. But at a club level where run backs are few and far between, what do we think about that?
Yeah, I can see why it's attractive to the club level, but even then, if you make that guard, you've left them no choice but to play. Really, they're going to go, what the heck do we do now? Well, let's maybe play a tap on that R1. It's really a hard shot, but if they ever make it, you're dead. And I've done it before, and now they make something really good, and you're wishing you didn't throw that guard because now they're buried behind the guard you just threw. You don't feel all that clever at this point.
Right. Okay. The next big one was playing something on Y2, tapping it around. Everybody recognized that red 2 and red 3 were pretty exposed. And the notion is that by tapping on Y2, we can sort of jostle things around, make 2 and 3 a little bit more secure because they're not just providing backing now for all those yellows. What do you think about that play?
Well, I like it better than the guard, and Kevin and BJ discussed it at length as a potential option. It does. Let's say you tap that Y2 with sort of back ring weight someplace. R3 then ends up, you make the angle better, like Y2 and Y4 then line up past R3 because it goes sort of towards the center line a bit, maybe back button, and your shooter is there to sort of make sure that angle doesn't get any better for them. So it's okay. It's a good result. They can never kill more than one red. They might be able to somehow get rid of R2 by hitting your shooter into that pack. But I like it better than the guard.
Yeah.
It's a little late in the end maybe for this kind of a shot, but rearrange those angles and still sit two. It's pretty good if you make it.
In the video, you hear BJ say, "Do we ever peel?" And I don't think anybody actually called for the peel in the puzzle group, but peeling at this level, what do you think?
It's actually okay, I think. I mean, it comes from up to with hammer. We should be trying to keep it clean here somehow. Should we be adding complexity to this end, or should we be reducing complexity? So he's saying if we peel, yeah, they might make that R1-2 double and roll in front of the pack, which is not great, but if they ever miss it, like for sure we're scoring and maybe a multiple. So it's not terrible, but I don't think it suits. I don't think it suits. Now, Kevin Stevens says I looked at it. If we peel, but if they do make that double, there's 4 yellows in the paint, and I can't really get rid of them because my R3 is still in the way. So I don't. I think he discards it pretty quickly.
Okay, and then so that really brings us to the shot he played, and I think one solitary puzzler called this, and that was Dwayne Linton. So we'll name check Dwayne because he got it spot on, and that's the slash of R1 into some of those yellows.
Yeah, there's a couple ways to hit it. It looks at first glance like it might be dangerous. Like you could hit the R1 wrong, and Y3 maybe goes back there and kills both your reds or something. But I think they recognize that that's pretty unlikely. Because of the accuracy and the weight these guys can throw, that Y3 is going to rattle through that hole. It might kill 1 or 2 of your reds as rattling through that hole and spinning out the back. You get rid of 2 or 3 of the rocks in the 4-foot, and you're going back to that conversation we had about simplifying as opposed to adding more congestion. They're really going, the scoreboard helps make this call that we're going to smash that in there, clear out some stuff. So yeah, it's really just, I think, just reducing the congestion is the key here.
Okay.
Anything on the shooter. Hard on the roll, Wes, hard. Okay, that works.
That's pretty good.
It is.
With some speed, that red one's gone. That red one's gone if Ontario chooses to play it, and the yellows probably all stay.
I guess he can definitely hit all these. This is probably ending up in here. You could do this again right now.
I would clean up 2 yellows that way.
Like
He'll spin.
get all his moving that way and stay in the middle of it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty good. Are we ever peeling the guard?
I didn't hate it. I think the thing he plays is he plays this red double and sits in front of these, and then it's really,
Yeah, that's pretty sketchy then.
yeah.
To score the way it is, I think they got to kind of clean things up and give the skipper a chance to make something.
Firm or peel?
I like angling that red one in onto the yellows.
Yeah, I like that call.
I don't know whether they're...
Not it.
So, yeah, that's what they're going with.
Yeah.
2/3 is perfect. Should run nice straight here.
He hits this perfect. It's not easy. He can get rid of 2 yellows.
Yep. Hard bend.
BJ Neufeld.
Gotta go. Whoa. Whoa.
Hard bend.
Yep. Yep.
Ben Hebert.
Hard.
Angle it back.
Good job,
and
Beach.
he'll get
Really
rid
good.
of it. And he just unlocks everything.
Tough little shot now for Scott. You've got to almost stick this,
7/8 high. Yeah.
make the double.
You gotta get this good one here.
Huge shot here because this is Ontario's only chance to stop a big score here.
Draws McDonald here, up weight, run it back, bang, bang. And
Yeah,
shot
not bad.
stone still belongs, though, to Alberta, sitting center line.
I don't think so.
Just off.
So, Mickey, when I look at this situation, I guess my big takeaway is underlining all this stuff going on is objectives. What is it that I can live with here, and what situation is going to lead me to that acceptable objective, and lead me away from the unacceptable. And if I simplify, then that's going to make that more likely. And if I complicate, that's going to make that less likely. Is that a fair summary of the ultimate decision he makes?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Is that, just as you said, throwing a guard is gonna make this end guaranteed somehow cluttered. Smashing up R1 in there, even if you don't hit it perfect, chances are things are gonna get opened up. There's gonna be some stuff moving around, open up. You're gonna definitely change those angles so that you don't have that situation where the reds are vulnerable and the yellows are secure. So they're really just going for the chance to make sure they have a reasonable shot to score. But like you say, on the broad strategy, more cluttered or less cluttered, up to with hammer, you should be thinking less cluttered.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's make one more point that Russ makes in the play-by-play as well, and we'll talk about how Kevin throws his draw when it comes later on in the end.
You just want to watch what he does here, how he looks down. He does this a lot.
Lock one right on there.
Could be like through the ring.
So what's he doing there? He's not watching the shot. He's looking down. What's he up to?
Well, whenever you throw a draw shot, it's almost always, unless it's your first one in the game, but even then they compare it to draw to the button at this level, but it's always, well, you're going to add a little bit more, or the same as you threw last time, or a little bit less, or it's always comparing it to a draw shot you threw previously. So the point is making sure what you threw previously. So he pays attention. I think he's looking down, just sort of looking inward to say, I felt like I threw it this hard. I felt like I threw this much weight, because I know at some point in time, I'm going to have to refer back to it. I think it's just a habit he developed so that he knows what he threw, because it's always a comparative thing. I'm going to throw a draw and you'll always say, oh, I threw here in the sixth end. I know how keen it is. Or your friend end might say, I think it's a little heavier out here. You got to add something, or it's really getting quick in this area. But it's always either something more or something less, or the same as something you threw earlier. So I think he's trying to lock that into his feel. I threw it this hard, so I can use that as a reference point for later.
Right. So if that one came up 2 feet short, then he'd say, okay, well, that was the feeling I had for 2 feet short. Next time, I'm just going to take that feeling. I'm just going to add 2 feet to it.
Right. But if he wasn't paying attention to what he threw, and if he's jumping up and screaming about the line, or you see some guys run down the sheet behind the rock, or whatever, you're not paying attention to what you just threw. You don't have that
Feeling.
You don't have that information in your brain or in your gut to use for next time.
Right. Okay. All right. That's a great point. Okay, Mickey, let's leave it there. Thanks for your time.
You betcha. Thanks.